Hello! In this tutorial I would like to shortly introduce you the non-parametric tests. The non-parametric tests are of a great help if the assumptions of the parametric tests are not fulfilled, and you should also use non-parametric tests if your dependent variable is measured on ordinal scale or if you have a very small sample size and central limit theorem cannot be applied. First, we will have a look at MannWhitney U test or Wilcoxon rank sum test. This test is actually the non-parametric equivalent of the independent t-test, so it is testing the difference between two groups. The test compares the frequency of low and high ranks between groups, and under the null hypothesis, the amount of high and low ranks should be roughly equal in the two groups. This is achieved through comparing the expected sum of ranks to the actual sum of ranks. It is worth mentioning that in case of non-parametric tests, we are not reporting mean values, but rather medians. MannWhitney U test also has some assumptions that must be fulfilled. First of all, the dependent variable has to be at least ordinally scaled. The independent variable has only two levels. Between subjects, design must be used, and the subjects are not matched across conditions. Let's conduct the test in RStudio now, and in order to do this we will use the Wilcox.test function. We will use the same example and the same dataset on music sales as we used for the independent t-test. So we load our data first using read.table command. It's there, and now we will type the command wilcox.test, and we continue in the same way as for the independent t-test. So we specify the dependent variable which contains the scores for the outcome measure, so it's unit cells in our case. Then we continue with the tilde sign, and we specify the predictor or independent variable which tells us to which group a score belongs, so that is in our case group. And in the second argument data, we will just specify the data frame that contains the two variables, so in our case music sales. We can run the command now, and you can see the output. It's pretty short, but actually it's still enough for us to make a conclusion. We have the test statistic here. That's this W number, and then we have the p-value, which is 0.0054, and that's obviously lower than 0.05, so this actually leads us to the conclusion that we can reject the null hypothesis. So the test yields evidence that the price promotion leads to higher chart positioning. Furthermore, I would like to show you the Wilcoxon signed rank test, which is another non-parametric test, and this is actually equivalent of the paired or dependent t-test. It is used to analyze the differences between paired observations, and the only requirement we should consider is that the data should be measured at an interval level. And the null hypothesis states that there is no difference between the two matched samples. Let's go back to RStudio now and conduct the test. First of all, let's load the data. We will use the same data as for the pair test and assign it to the object music cell step using the read table command. So let's load the data, and now we will use the same command as for the MannWhitney U test, which is Wilcox.test, to run our Wilcoxon rank sum test. And now we insert a variable that contains the scores for the first group, which is in our case unit cells low price, and then we insert a variable that contains the scores for the second group, so music cells dependent high price. And in case of the paired version of the non-parametric test, we will again specify and add additional argument paired equals to true, which will actually specify that we are working with the paired samples. Good, now we can run the test. So in the output we have the test statistic, which is V, n equals to 867.5, and then we have the p-value, which equals to 0.004, and the p-value is again lower than 0.05, and this leads us to rejection of the null hypothesis. So the result suggests that there is a significant effect of price on sales. Hopefully this short tutorial helped you to get an overview of the non-parametric tests, and I thank you for watching.